Hello, this is Pamela Smythe from the University of Waterloo. I'm one of the hosts of Beyond the Bulletin, the podcast of internal communications at the university. We bring you news and views from the U Waterloo community. Please spread the word that we're on SoundCloud.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And now the interview from episode 141 of Beyond the Bulletin, originally broadcast on October 21st, 2022. The Stratford School of Interaction Design and Business is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Our next guest has been there since its inception. Christine McWebb is a professor of digital culture and also the director of the Stratford School. It is home to the Honours Bachelor of Global Business and Digital Arts program and the Master of Digital Experience Innovation. She talks about the Stratford School's history and what's coming up. Welcome to the podcast, Christine.
Thank you so much. It's very nice to be here.
When it started, it was the Stratford campus, and in 2017, it became known as the Stratford School of Interaction Design and Business. A rose by any other name, as they say. But tell me about the significance of the name change.
It was a name, not really a name change, but we actually didn't have a name before. So we were just by default called the Stratford campus because it was a campus in Stratford. And we, in 2017, after many, many consultations, became the Stratford School of Interaction Design and Business in order to reflect appropriately not just the location, but also what we do at the school. And like you said, yes, it was a new name, but it was a lot more than that. So we also became an academic unit in its own right, which was important because we were able to hire faculty members to have access to research, increase our research profile moving forward. So that was a real game changer. Prior to that date, our faculty members were actually hired into other units in arts, so in fine arts, in economics, communication studies, sociology, and so forth. And they had teaching duties to the Stratford campus at the time. So it was really quite impossible to create a research profile and to create a unit in its widest sense at the Stratford campus. So the Stratford School of Interaction Design and Business was a step into the future of the school.
How do you describe the research profile at the Stratford School?
Yeah, so since 2017, because of that change, we have hired about 10 junior faculty members. And since then, the research profile, of course, has grown in leaps and bounds. And we now have close to $2 million in research funding, which it's, by comparison to other units, it's still quite small, but that is because we're just getting started. And I suspect that there will be a significant growth in the next few years. And what is, I think, quite unique to the Stratford School is that a lot of our faculty members actually apply for grants jointly. So we have a lot of collaborative grants where 2 or 3 of our faculty members are co-applicants or co-PIs on a grant. And that reflects the ethos of the Stratford School, which is all about collaboration and interdisciplinarity.
Oh, it is. It's all about collaboration. Tell me more.
Yeah, so even when you walk into the building, it's right there. So the building was designed for collaborative study and for collaborative research. When you walk in, it's all glass. When you stand in front of it, you can actually see right through it. So in the front and out the back. And as you walk through, there are many, many open collaboration spaces. And then there are also what we call project rooms. They all have glass walls, so no solid doors. And they're all whiteboarded. And the reason behind this is that when students and faculty members walk around, they can look in and see what others are working on. And it opens up for dialogue. So even in the design of the building, it's all about collaboration. And then that's also how we teach. So we are very team-based and project-based in our pedagogy and curricular approach. It has served us quite well. Our students are very apt at teamwork, and this is something that the employers have told us a lot after they had the opportunity to hire our students for internships.
It's a beautiful building. I've been there a few times, and I was there for the launch. I recall way back when.
10 years ago.
Yeah, you've had some other milestones in your development as well. In addition to becoming an academic unit, is there anything you want to mention here?
Sure. So as of this year, we are fully co-op. So that was a major milestone. So this cohort of students that's just starting now, they are going to go through the program with mandatory co-op. We did have an internship prior to this, but it was only one internship between year 3 and year 4. So there was quite a bit of pressure from employers who wanted our students for longer than 4 months, so for an 8 month term, or they wanted them sooner than having to wait for the next summer. And then the students, of course, also wanted co-op because they would have the opportunity not only to make money but also to be exposed to different careers, which is important because of the interdisciplinary nature of the program. So they would have, they moving forward, they will have the opportunity to be exposed to more than just one possible career trajectory. So, for example, if they do one work term in, let's say, user experience design, and then they realize, well, maybe I want to try something else, and then the next work term they get hired as into project management, they get to explore various careers. So that was definitely an important milestone.
What is user experience design? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so user experience design is, when we started, was a very, very young discipline.
Hmm.
And it has since then grown into very much its own field. And user experience, even the term, just broadly speaking, is about how you experience a product or a service. And product can be physical or digital. So when we first started, our user experience courses were all about how you experience a website. So is it easy to follow through? Is it easy to find the areas that you want to click on? Is it readable? Is it accessible? And those kinds of things. The discipline has now moved much broader into what we call experience design. So the word user has been dropped because it now includes also physical experiences. So, for example, when you go to a museum, what is the best way to walk through the museum? It includes service design. So, if you provide a service to your customer, what would be the best way from start to finish to move your customer through that experience? So, it's actually become much, much broader in terms of its application. The key here is that it's human centered.
It makes me think of IKEA.
Exactly. Yeah,
You have to go through, you can only go through their way.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about these programs. So the Honors Bachelor of Global Business and Digital Arts.
So I think it's important to know that that is by far our biggest program. So it's grown about 7 to 10% year over year, and just this last year we had a growth of about 35%.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been very successful. We have about 7 to 800 students in that program. I think one of the reasons why it's so successful is because our students are being trained not just in one discipline, right? So, for example, user experience is one area that the students study and that is linked to other areas. So, I think the best way to describe it is if you look at the three main pillars of creativity, technology, and business, which we cover in the program, but we don't cover them as distinct subdisciplines, but we bring them together. So, in the first 2 years, the students learn the foundations of videography, of storytelling, of design, user experience design, and interaction design. And then in the last 2 years, we try to get them to bring everything that they have learned together, culminating with the capstone course in fourth year, which is a team taught and project based capstone course where they work with either a design competition, an industry partner, it depends on the year, on a major project. And at that point, they are asked to bring together the theoretical knowledge in digital cultures, in ethics, so design ethics, and they bring that together with the applied knowledge that they have acquired around, like I said, storytelling, videography, photography, and design. We have had the opportunity several times now where we were able to work within the parameters of a design competition in the capstone course. So the biggest one, or the most prestigious one, let's say, I think was the Royal Society of the Arts. And they have an annual design competition. It's out of London, England. It just fit very, very well with the capstone course in terms of the curriculum and in terms of timing. So they are very, very good in supporting students. They provided us with a lot of curricular material for the course. And so the students participated, they signed up and they participated in this design competition. There were about 700 entries worldwide. So it's really quite the stiff competition. And one of our student teams, this was in 2018, won first place for best business case. So
Wow.
we were very proud of the students and the what they developed. So the challenge was to design for, it was very, very broad. So to design for social good. And it didn't just have to be an app, it could be anything. So our students designed a program which they called Hungrier. And it was an app with accompanying business case and explanatory video in order to provide long haul truck drivers with healthier options for eating. So, as part of the background research, our students actually spent quite a bit of time interviewing truck drivers and learned a lot, I think. I think they did a very thorough job to develop their business case, and it led them to win this competition, which was quite amazing.
It's fantastic. Now, the Master of Digital Experience Innovation, or MDEI, that's also been around for a long time.
Actually, that was our first program. So when we first started, before the building even opened, our current building opened in 2012, of course, but we started the MDI program actually in 2011. And we recruited kind of at the last minute 16 students from international and domestic. And we ran the program out of a refurbished hotel in downtown Stratford. So that was quite something. We have, let's just say that we have moved on since then.
Wow. It's kind of a nice story to think of. Like, I'm sure it wasn't nice, maybe so nice at the time, but it's a nice thing to look back on and say, wow, look how far we've come.
Yeah, that, but also actually it was nice at the time because it was there were only 16 students, and so we could really take our time. And the ratio professor to student, I mean, 1 to 16 is amazing, right? And I think they actually had a very, very good experience. I mean, it was a startup operation. Yes, we still had to iron out a lot of kinks in where we wanted to go, but I think it was nonetheless a good experience for the students.
Now, what are some of the challenges that you face? You're what? Is it 40, 45 minutes down the road?
Yeah, so I mean, the pandemic has certainly helped in that regard. I mean, we are much more used to online meetings now, but I mean, there's a difference between an online meeting and an online course. And it is especially because collaboration is so important for the student experience in our program. We are quite sure that we will remain an in person program. We have moved 2 or 3 courses maybe online or to a hybrid format, but that was for pedagogical reasons, not for distance or anything like that. So we are an in person program. And because we are an in person program and because we are an offsite campus, it does come with challenges. And I would say the two largest challenges that we've always had is transportation and housing. And so this is definitely our number one issue that we are trying to resolve. I can say that we are actively working towards a solution, and that the transportation actually has increased. For the last year, we've been very actively engaged with various stakeholders to discuss the possibility of student housing in Stratford, and those conversations are going very well. Also with the university, it is something that we are pursuing, and in the more short term, we have increased transportation options for our students. In terms of, there's now a bus route that goes between Stratford and Waterloo that our students can take advantage of, and we have been able to talk to them and adjust their schedule. So it's actually conducive to our schedule for classes. And then we also have a shuttle service that we have put in place in the shorter term, and that's also well used by the students. A lot of the students carpool, so they organize themselves. So there's no issue getting the students there. It's just that it's not an ideal world, right? So I think we can do better, and that's what we're striving for.
What else is coming up for the future?
We are also in the approval process for a master's and PhD program in user experience design and research, and it's projected to launch in 2024. And the reason why we decided to develop a PhD program and the master's as well, but for the PhD is that there actually isn't one in the field in Canada.
Oh,
So a lot of our young faculty members come from the States and Europe. And so that is a gap in our educational system in this country. And so that is a gap that we are trying to address with those programs. And then longer term, we certainly want to strengthen our research profile. And I think that's going to be a natural course because we continue to hire very, very strong, excellent faculty members. And so that's going to happen. We provide them with a lot of support. So I'm very, very optimistic about that. And we are certainly off to an excellent start when it comes to our research profile as well.
wonderful. So this would be the first PhD program of its kind in Canada?
That's correct. Yeah. So there's nothing close to what we are proposing because our PhD program will be interdisciplinary in nature, and this is not something that exists in the country at this point.
So basically, you're starting from scratch.
Yeah, well, this is what we seem to do. We also started from scratch when we when we created the other program. So why not do it? Why not do it again? It's exciting. I mean, to me, I know that curriculum development, it's not it's not exciting for everybody, but for my colleagues, this actually has been led by my associate director for grad, Leonard Knack. So he has been in charge of this, and they've done an excellent job. We have a small committee that we put together, and we've had quite extensive consultations with other programs and the Faculty of Arts internally as well. You start with identifying where the gaps are and then the nature of the program. So, do you want to build a traditional PhD program? Do you want to incorporate elements that perhaps are a little bit more innovative and so forth? And then we've been working on this for a couple of years now, and it eventually takes shape. And so we have submitted it, and we are just waiting for feedback now. It goes to quality assurance, which is a body internal to the university for approval, and then it comes back to us, and then it goes all the way up to Senate for final approval.
Well, what do your graduates go on to do?
The graduates from our Global Business and Digital Arts program have quite a broad choice of careers. The placement rate is very high. It's 98% in their desired field, and it ranges from front-end developers, so working on web design, to communication specialists. Marketing is a big one, so social media marketing. A lot of our students end up in that. Project management, product design. And then quite a number of students actually start their own company. So we don't have a formal education in entrepreneurship, but we do support it. And we work with other units on campus, like Velocity and other units, to kind of participate in their programming. And the students take advantage of those opportunities and they start their own company.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot going on and a lot to celebrate. I'm delighted for you to have this milestone anniversary. And there's been so much growth along the way. How are you going to celebrate?
October 28th, we are going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary. And I think most of it will be centered around the students, as it should be. By students, I mean current students and alumni. So I hope that a lot of our alumni come out. It would be lovely to see them again. The students will have an opportunity to showcase their best projects on that day. And then alumni will also have the opportunity to participate in some really exciting workshops that we are putting on and that are being led by some of our industry partners. with whom we have close relationships.
This has been great. Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
I'd just like to say that this was a lot of fun. And like I said, I look forward to seeing many, many, many people at our event on the 28th. And I certainly look forward to the next 10 years to see what we can do in the next 10 years at the Stratford School and how we can make it grow.
Me too. And I'll put a link to the celebration in our show notes on SoundCloud so people can click and get more information and hopefully make plans to attend.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this interview from the Beyond the Bulletin podcast from the University of Waterloo. You'll find our archive of full episodes on the University of Waterloo website, and select interviews are on the university's YouTube channel. Just look for our playlist there. Please join Brandon Sweet and me for new episodes on Fridays, and don't forget to tell your Waterloo connections about us.